Don't cry, Mommy. Maybe that man will help us. The little girl's voice was barely louder than the storm around them. Rain hammered against the glass of the deserted bus shelter, turning the street into a trembling river of dark water. Angela Carter, only 26, sat hunched on the cold metal bench, her arms wrapped tightly around her daughter. Her once bright blonde hair was tied loosely at her neck, now damp and clinging to her face. Her cheeks were flushed with fever, her skin pale, her body swaying with exhaustion. 3-year-old Lisa leaned against her mother, wearing a thin beige dress with a torn sleeve. She clutched a one-eyed stuffed bear whose seams were barely holding together. She hadn't eaten since the morning she'd stopped asking. That silence terrified Angela more than anything. They were alone. No buses ran this late, not on this route. But it was the only dry place they had left after the landlord had thrown them out. Angela had worked a double shift and returned home, only to find their belongings stuffed into garbage bags on the curb. Her chest burned, her joints ached, the fever creeping for days. She couldn't afford a doctor. She couldn't even afford a sandwich. Mommy, can I have water? Lisa whispered. Angela fumbled through her worn bag, handing over a crumpled bottle with trembling hands. The child drank, then leaned into her again, her fingers icy cold. Angela blinked hard, vision blurring as the bench seemed to tilt beneath her. Before she could steady herself, her body slumped sideways. Mommy! Lisa shook her. Mommy, wake up! No answer. Panicking, she tugged at her mother's coat with small shaking hands. The street was nearly empty, until headlights appeared. A sleek black Bentley slowed near the shelter. The door opened and a tall man in a charcoal suit stepped out, umbrella in hand. He froze at the sight of them. A woman slumped unconscious. A tiny girl standing in the rain, soaked, trembling, eyes wide with silent fear. Lisa stepped toward him, clutching her ragged bear. She tugged gently at the cuff of his sleeve and whispered, as if speaking to hope itself, "Maybe that man will help us." The world seemed to hold its breath. Alan Hawthorne had negotiated billion-dollar deals, faced entire boardrooms without blinking. But one look into that little girl's eyes left him completely still. He dropped his umbrella, shrugged off his coat, and knelt beside Angela, draping it over her cold, soaked body. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked gently. "Lisa," she whispered. "And this is your mommy?" She nodded. "I'm going to get help. Everything's going to be okay." He called emergency services. His voice was steady but his heart hammered. He picked Lisa up and though she flinched at first, she melted into the warmth of his chest. Her dress was soaked through. She was shivering. Without thinking, Alan tugged his cotton undershirt from beneath his crisp button-down and tore it in half, wrapping the soft fabric around her to keep her warm. "I'm cold," she whispered. "And Mommy didn't eat again today." Alan paused. "What do you mean?" "She gave me everything. Even the crackers. She always says she's not hungry, but I know she is." His jaw tightened. His driver held the Bentley door open. Alan slid inside with Lisa still wrapped in his torn shirt. Rain drummed against the roof as the ambulance arrived and took Angela away. Her eyes fluttered open briefly, meeting Alan's, but she did not recognize him. Not yet. At the hospital, Lisa clung to him while he handed her a juice box. A nurse approached. "She's stable, fever, exhaustion, dehydration," the nurse said. She checked the chart. "Angela Carter." Alan froze. "Carter? You're Mr. Hawthorne?" she asked. "Yes. She used to work at your company, Hawthorne Technologies. Logistics department. She was let go a few months ago, downsizing." The name hit him like a blow. One signature. One name on a spreadsheet. And now it had a face. A mother. A child. He walked to her room, heart heavy. Angela looked small and fragile in the hospital bed, pale but awake. When she saw him, her expression shifted, confusion, recognition, then something harder. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Fine enough to leave," she said, trying to stand. "I don't have insurance. I cannot afford rest." "You passed out in the rain," he insisted. "Please, let them help. Help costs money." Lisa rushed to her mother's side, holding her tightly. "Mommy, you're not better yet." Angela's voice cracked. "I failed you once. I cannot fail you again." "You did not fail her," Alan said quietly. She looked up at him, eyes glistening. I lost my job. I lost our home. I can't even feed her. What would you call that, Mr. Hawthorne? He flinched at the name. I remember now, he whispered. You worked at my company. Not for long, she said bitterly. You signed the papers. I was just a name on a page. I didn't know. Most people don't. Silence pressed between them. Finally Alan spoke. You can stay at my house. Just for a few days. Until you're well. That isn't necessary. It isn't charity. You'll be safe. Warm. And Lisa will have food. That's all. Angela opened her mouth to refuse, but Lisa tugged her sleeve. Mommy. Maybe this time we can trust him. Angela froze. Hope. That was all her daughter was asking for. One night, she whispered. One night, Alan repeated. But deep inside he knew that one night would change everything. The iron gates of his estate opened as the black Bentley rolled down the cobblestone driveway. Angela leaned weakly against the window, Lisa asleep in her lap, still clutching her stuffed bear. Alan's hands gripped the wheel tightly. He had brought many people to this house before, but never anyone who made him question everything he believed about himself. The mansion loomed ahead, tall and cold, its many windows unlit, like eyes that had grown tired of watching. Alan pushed open the heavy wooden door himself, letting it creak slowly into the grand marble foyer. Crystal chandeliers hung above, and echoes followed each step they took. Angela stepped inside hesitantly, Lisa cradled in her arms. The child's small bare feet touched the glossy floor, and she peeked upward. It's so quiet, she whispered. Alan nodded. Too quiet, I think. Lisa's gaze wandered to a framed painting on the wall, an abstract swirl of warmth and storm. She reached out a tiny hand, stopping just before touching it. Angela noticed and whispered, It's okay, sweetheart. You can look. Alan walked ahead. You both must be starving. In the kitchen, modern appliances gleamed as though they'd never been used. Alan rolled up his sleeves and awkwardly opened cabinets, digging for anything resembling soup ingredients. Angela watched from a distance, arms folded, weary but slightly amused. After a long fumbling search and one spill of boiling water, Alan finally set 2 warm bowls on the oak table. In the process he burned his wrist on the pot lid, hissing softly. Angela stepped forward without thinking. Let me see. It's nothing, he muttered, trying to hide it. She gently took his hand, her touch careful and warm. She found a small first aid kit, dabbed ointment onto the burn and wrapped it neatly. He stared at her, almost startled by the tenderness. No one's ever done this for me, he said quietly. Angela's eyes lifted to his. No one's ever done it for me either. Their eyes lingered. No smiles. Just a silence that felt like something beginning. Later, Lisa sat cross-legged on the kitchen floor, coloring with a half-broken red crayon she found in her mother's purse. Mommy, I'm going to draw us, she announced. Angela smiled weakly. Okay, love. Lisa drew 3 stick figures holding hands under a sun with far too many rays. She added her little bear beside the smallest figure, then stood on tiptoe and taped it to the refrigerator with a sticker. Angela chuckled softly. Where did you get that? My backpack. Lisa beamed. Alan stepped closer to look. The figures were labeled. Me, Mommy, Mr. Allen. Underneath, in uneven letters, maybe our new home. He swallowed hard. That small drawing changed the room. The kitchen, once cold and soulless, suddenly carried warmth. A child's hope had settled into it. He glanced at Angela. She said nothing, but her eyes had softened. Not trust. Not yet. But something nearer than before. For the first time in years, one kitchen light flickered on, and it felt like a beginning. The next morning, the house wasn't cold anymore. Angela sat on the living room couch braiding Lisa's hair while the girl talked about teddy bears and butterflies and her dream of pink shoes with lights. The fever had passed, thanks to the private doctor Alan had quietly arranged. At the hospital follow-up, Alan waited outside the exam room on a plastic chair. He could have sent anyone, but he stayed. When Angela stepped out and found him still there, surprise softened her expression. They said I'll be fine. Just need rest. Good, he replied. The silence between them on the walk to the car didn't push. It simply lingered. The next afternoon, Angela found an envelope tucked into her nightstand drawer. Inside was a bill, paid in full. Even her old medical balance from before Lisa was born. She stormed downstairs, gripping the paper. You shouldn't have done this. I can't repay you. Alan didn't look up from the fireplace. I didn't do it to be repaid. I don't want to owe you. You don't, he said firmly. This isn't a debt. It's a chance for me to do something right. She looked at him a long moment, and for the first time she believed him. He wasn't trying to rescue her. He was trying to redeem himself. Later, Lisa found Alan in the garden. She sat beside him and offered a bent daisy. It's a little broken, she said, but still pretty. He smiled softly. Thank you. You're nice, she said. But you don't smile enough. Mommy says people who don't smile are carrying too much inside. Alan blinked. She said that. Maybe I said it, Lisa shrugged. He looked out at the sky. Maybe you're right. She leaned her head against his arm. You don't have to do everything, she whispered. You just have to stay. Alan froze. Something inside him cracked open. That night in his study, he stared at a photo of his late fiancée, then at Lisa's drawing pinned to the fridge. He opened a notebook and wrote, House rules. No more dinners alone. Asterisk asterisk. He stared at the words, then closed the notebook. From downstairs, faint laughter rose. Angela reading aloud, Lisa giving voices to the characters. For the first time, the silence in the house didn't feel like grief. Felt like healing. Weeks passed. The house changed. Soft laughter in the hallways. An extra plate at dinner. Wildflowers in a chipped vase. Angela brought life to every corner she touched. She spent mornings in the old greenhouse, untouched since Alan's fiancée died, bringing it slowly back to life. Alan often watched from his office window. She wasn't just repairing glass. She was repairing him. One afternoon, she climbed a ladder to fix curtains. You should let me get that, Alan called. I'm fine, she said. You just break things. He laughed. Probably. A second later, the ladder shifted. She fell hard onto the stone floor. Alan rushed to her. Don't move. It's okay, she winced. Just my wrist. Inside, he bandaged the swelling hand. As he rolled up her sleeve, he froze. A long pale scar traced her other wrist. Angela instantly pulled her arm back, eyes dropping. Don't. He waited quietly. Finally, she whispered. 2 years ago, after Lisa was born. No job. No family. I thought maybe she'd be better off without me. Tears blurred her eyes. But she cried, and I couldn't leave her in the dark. Alan's chest tightened. She hadn't been fighting sadness. She had been fighting for survival. From the doorway, Lisa's small voice trembled. Mommy! She ran forward, sobbing when she saw the bandage. Don't get hurt, Mommy. Please don't disappear. Angela held her tight. I'm right here, baby. I'm not going anywhere. Alan stepped away to the balcony, gripping the railing as emotion shook him. For the first time, he understood. He wasn't the only one broken. That night, the house fell quiet. Angela went to bed early. Lisa curled at her side. Alan sat alone in his study. The photo of his fiancée seemed distant now, softened, no longer a wound. His thoughts drifted to Angela's scar, her courage, her quiet strength. The next morning, Angela came down with a small suitcase. I think it's time we go. I don't want to be more trouble. Alan wanted to stop her, but the exhaustion in her eyes held him back. So he nodded. Before leaving, Lisa tiptoed into his office and left a folded paper on his desk. When the door shut behind them, Alan opened it. A drawing. 3 figures holding hands under a starry sky. Maybe next time we stay forever. He pressed it to his chest and lowered his head, breath shaking. For the first time, the mansion didn't feel like shelter. It felt empty. He knew what he had to do. Rain fell when he arrived at the small boarding house. Angela opened the door, barefoot, weary, folding old clothes. She froze when she saw him. Alan handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was one handwritten line. This isn't a contract. It's an invitation to come home. But this time as my reason for staying. Angela's fingers trembled. You don't have to do this. I know, Alan said softly. I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because if it isn't you and Lisa, Then I don't want anyone else. He covered her hand with his. You didn't just stay in my house, he whispered. You stayed in my heart. A tear slipped down her cheek. Lisa wandered over, took both their hands and asked, Are we going home now? Angela met Alan's eyes and nodded. Yes, baby. I think we are. Back at the mansion, morning sun lit the garden. Lisa spun among lavender blossoms in her princess dress and paper crown. Daddy Alan, look at my crown. He lifted her, laughing freely, real laughter for the first time in years. Angela stood in the doorway, sunlight softening her features. Peace, not fear, lived in her eyes now. That afternoon they celebrated Lisa's 4th birthday. Only a few people. Only warmth. Under the pergola wrapped in flowers, Alan gave Lisa a small box. Inside was a restored music box, and under her polished hair clip engraved in silver. For the bravest girl. And the kindest mom. My family. Lisa threw her arms around them both. Angela covered her mouth, tears shimmering. Alan turned to Angela. No ring. No show. Just truth. No titles. No pressure, he said. Just stay with me every day. I've waited my whole life for a place that felt like home, she whispered. I think we just found it. Lisa hugged them tightly. We don't need to wish for a family anymore, Mommy. We already are one. The sun dipped low, wrapping the three of them in gold. Not broken. Not waiting. Just whole. Just home. Some stories don't need fireworks. Just a little girl, a tired mother, and a man who finally chose love over silence.